What's up, Sales Heroes? We have a very good podcast for you today. We are pumped. We are psyched. We're just coming off of the Aspire Tour in Miami, flown from Oregon all the way to Miami, making that investment in ourselves. And if you don't know about the Aspire Tour, it is a personal growth conference that is going around the nation with the elite of elite millionaires and billionaires, teaching us how to up-level our business, our personal life, professional life, all the things.
It was so incredible. It was
That's why we're in pink, right?
Yeah, we're in pink because they're pink and black. This is their logo. This was in Angie's swag bag. We loved it. We had such a good time. It was at the Miami Convention Center. Is that what that was? I had never been to Miami before, so that was fun all in itself. We started at 7 in the morning. We went till 7 at night. It was on a Friday. Angie had mentioned that they are moving across the country, and it was so worth it. So if you are someone that's in business, in sales, entrepreneurial, own your own business, work in corporate sales. I'm in corporate sales. And then Angie and I also run Sales Heroes together. So both entrepreneurial and working for a corporation. I took so much away from Friday that I just feel excited. I feel pumped. I feel pumped. And so we just wanted to share some of our favorite takeaways from just a few of the people that were there. I mean, we were impacted by multiple speakers. It was totally worth it. This is something I'm going to say because we've invested in a lot of personal development and mindset development and coaches. And one of the things that frustrated me a few years ago and why I took a step back is that you can invest in learning and then not be taking enough action, and you can be oversold by what's out there. Yeah. So I saw the ticket price of this and I was like, Ange, let's go to this. What do you think of this? She looked at it. She felt like it looked valuable.
And the lineup. You have to check your lineup too, right?
Yes.
Are these people that you really want to learn something from? And when we saw this lineup, and we'll name a few of the names today, but when we saw this lineup, we were like, holy freaking moly, we get to be in the same room with these millionaires and billionaires. Like, count me in. And what was there? They said there was 3,000 people in the room.
Over 3,000 people in the room. They're just getting started with these Aspire tours. And it was impact for a very low cost. I mean, our tickets were very inexpensive, and we even purchased an up-level ticket. We purchased gold tickets. Yeah. And the access to the people in the room, and we'll get into this more as we talk, because you are who you surround yourself by, and proximity is power, and who you choose to learn from and grow from, and then how you choose to use what you've learned to take action to the next level and to gift others. The people in the room that were speaking, that spoke to that, and the impact and the level of divine intervention in their businesses and their lives was
you could see it. You could feel it.
You could feel it.
And I'm going to even take a step back for while we kick this off, because the way we've gone to so many events and the organizational structure that this Aspire Tour team has achieved, I want to give you a shout out and a commend, because it was so organized from the time that you purchased the ticket online to the response time, to the time it started. Every step of the way, you knew where you were, you knew what you were there to do, the energy was high. They streamline your processes to checking in, they streamline your processes to everything they're doing. There's so much info in the show, all this stuff to do in the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You would think, who is going to sit through that? Next thing you know, we looked, it's 3:30 and we're going,
how did we get here?
How did we get here? So
it was so much knowledge. Yeah. Just so much powerful knowledge. That's what I mean. I have a plethora of notes. Yes. I'm going to refer to them a lot. I'm going to refer to them as I go through the next months. And I mean, that's...
Well, instead of us, you guys can Google the Aspire Tour, because the level of people speaking will depend upon where they're at in the country, right? From scheduling perspective. And we're not going to give you the list today of all the ones that we spoke to or that we heard from, but we'll name them as we're going to talk about them and just share our takeaways, like you mentioned. So let's kick it off with one of the first people that spoke was Kevin O'Leary. Now, you guys might know him as that really mean guy on Shark Tank who's always challenging people and kind of just being a jerk sometimes. And everyone's like, why is this guy going to be like that? I think they coined him Mr. Wonderful as a smart ass, because he's always opposite of Mr. Wonderful. So I was kind of, when I saw his name on there, I thought, okay, first of all, from a business perspective, this guy has his shit together, right? He's pretty well known. He's an angel investor in a lot of accounts. But I was like, I really want to learn from him. And what is he telling entrepreneurs and business folks starting out? So I was excited to see him. What I learned from him is he shared his life of who he is. And his family, like, right, they're immigrants. They come to America. They have the tour or the dream of having this beautiful life. And then they acted upon it. But, like, he went to college and he did all the things. But his family never gave him a free ride. Like, once college was done, they were like, you're cut off of everything. Like, you're on your own. Go figure it out. And he had that same model for his kids. Mm-hmm. So here he has all this money in the world, can do whatever he wants. Yeah. But that is still a model that he shares. Like, I will cover you up until you're done with school. And then after that, kid, you're on your own. So he was really fun to hear.
He was
a humanizing side to Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah. Faith driven. He believes in God. He's had a marriage since, I believe, 1990. I mean, don't quote me on that. It's my notes, but that was something that hit me, you know, like how long he's been in his relationship. That matters. Relationships matter in life. When you have them, they should be respected and trusted. And I just loved how he talked about that, how he talked about his story, how he shared some pieces of his life and what he loves. And family is very important to him. And so it's not all just about making money. I love that he talked about social media. I think this is really important, especially in corporate sales. I don't believe that we share it enough and talk about it enough, the impact that social media can have on your business, and that it's important to be using it to tell your story, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. They're all free platforms. Yes, you can invest in investing in advertising on those, but that's a free platform for you to share your story. This is the thing I want to reiterate. It's not about just selling on those platforms. It's about sharing who you are and your story and whatever creative endeavor and matter you want to do that, but not showing up on there can be negative. He talked about data mining. He talked about the changes in real estate. He talked about how important data is. And I think that that's so important. Yeah. And you have free access to that. So let's just say you're using Instagram to build your business. I mean, we only have 65 followers at this point on Sales Heroes because we are brand new, but we are committed to growing that so we can make bigger impact. And Instagram gives you all your data, all your analytics. It shows you what's working, what people want to see. So as you're building content, you can make pivots to make that better. He talked a lot about financial investment and investing your money and not just focusing on paying attention to just a broker, but really finding someone that can give you the tools to invest in your money in tax-free accounts. That was pivotal for me. And there was so much. And so for me, that was my biggest takeaway, was like, were all of those highlights, but really that he humanized himself when he spoke. It was like we knew him, and it felt really good to like see him as a successful person, also as a human playing the guitar on his deck. I mean, he just did a really good job, and they all really did a good job telling their story.
And I think this comes to and we talk about this too, this is the opportunity where you have these very famous people who make a lot of money sharing their tips and tricks with people like us. And we were probably 20 feet from the stage, right? We did touch them, but it's like, that is this giving back and the serving. And every one of these people talked about giving back throughout their day. But what I loved about Kevin is that he also was able to share, because I know a lot of people are like, well, about Shark Tank. It's like, make sure that when you're pitching your business, because you're pitching your business to your customer, just not always an investor, right? Sometimes you might be needing money, that's fine. But I wrote some notes. It's like, when you're pitching your business, your product, your whatever, can you articulate that in 90 seconds or less?
That was powerful.
And that is powerful because on the sales side, my brain work, I have a ton of stuff going through my head. It is very hard for me to sometimes put it in like this 90 second. And people talk about an elevator pitch, but it really is, can you say your opportunity in 90 seconds or less? And that's my action item, right? Coming out of that. Also, one of the things I wrote down is, what is it about you that can execute on your idea? Like, so instead of going, here's my idea and this is blah, 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 and this is why it's so cool. Why will I be the best person to execute that, right? Like, these are questions that he's asking in his mind, right? Before he even thinks about things. And then he also thinks about when people are pitching to him, have you done this before? So if you're creating a pitch for something, can you do it in 90 seconds or less? Tell them why you'd be the one to execute. And of course, have you done this before? Share that story. And then like, if you work for a competitor, like it didn't matter. He was making sure to educate all of us with doing that. And then the one main thing at the end that he wanted to make sure, he's like, I don't care what business you're in, know your numbers. Know your numbers. What are you spending? What are you bringing in? You know, all of the things. How much you're selling.
Powerful.
All of your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your
As
business.
a business owner, you don't know your business. You don't know your numbers.
Yeah.
That is powerful. I forgot about that.
He was awesome. Yeah.
He was awesome.
All right. That was a good one. Kevin, if you listen to this ever, thank you so much for all the insight and tips that you shared with us. You were amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't see you as that negative person on Shark Tank. That Krabby Patty.
A different perspective.
All right. Who should we talk about next?
Let's talk about Tim Storey.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys. If you do not know who Tim Storey is, he's known for uplifting people, being a mentor to folks. He's been on Oprah. Oprah had her Soul special. This is one of the most God-fearing, up-living men I have met in a long time. He is like that cute Smokey Robinson face to him, and he comes out with the swagger, but you can see God on his heart and mind. Like he's here to share it with you. And I just was so happy. The takeaways for him were think different, more better, more magical, right? Like these are the things in your life that we've got to do.
Yeah, I love that.
And you know, we're not called to live in the land of the okay for all, and that's big for us single moms.
That's huge. And he came from Compton, right? Wasn't that? Yeah, he came from the inner city, Compton. He shared one little story about driving his Volkswagen, their Volkswagen, not bus, their Volkswagen Beetle, as a family of 6 or 7. I could have the number.
I think it was 7,
and crammed in there illegally to get to places. And where he's at now and what he's been able to do to transform his life that then also affects family that he's been able to bless because of that. That was pretty powerful for me.
Yeah. And I try to live my life like power positivity. And
you said single parents too.
And I think this is why I resonate with him, because he was raised also by a single mom. And I think when we look at our lives as single moms and the struggles that you go through, moms and dads, the struggles you go through, lack of confidence, lack of support, limiting beliefs. When he made the comment of, we are not called to live in the okay. When you ask someone, and this was his words, it threw me, but when you say to someone, hi, LaDonna, how are you? And if LaDonna goes, I'm just okay. Okay. It's like, why? Why are you just okay? Why are you just living in the okay? You don't have to live in the okay.
Powerful. Yeah.
So like, to LaDonna, like, are you mad? Are you sad? Are you happy? Like, what is the definition of that? But when he said we are not called to live in the okay, I was like, all right, like you start viewing things a little bit differently. And then that brings the setback. The greater the setback, the greater the setback, the greater the comeback, right? So that was another statement he said. He kept throwing out so many nuggets, LaDonna. I was like, I couldn't type fast enough.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was good. He did, because I brought a few. I'm kind of reading so I don't forget. But like he said, almost, most, utmost.
Oh yeah,
that was really powerful to me. This one really hit me
because people live in one of 3 places. He said.
Okay, thank you for that, because I was like, that one hit me.
You either live in the almost, or you live in the most, or you live in the utmost part of life. And almost is like, I'm almost there. I almost might make it. I almost might take the class. I almost might graduate. I almost that. Or you live in the most, which is like, what limitations are you living under? The voice of shame, people and things like that. Or the utmost, where you're constantly striving to look at that light in a better way.
Right, because your mindset plays such a huge role. I mean, you talked about the law of the lid, and you talked about single parenting. And for a number of years, I was a single parent to one child who is Caucasian, she's white. And then I was a single parent then to 2, and my second daughter is mixed. Her dad is, she's mixed. And we got judged a lot. We got judged a lot. My kids went to a great school. They went to a Spanish immersion school. It was a lottery program to get in. They had great education. We lived lived in an area that was a little bit more affluent. I was blessed enough to be able to rent a house from my family that my grandfather had left to a trust that was available for family to live in. And so it allowed me to live in a great area with a lower cost of rent, but it put my kids in a school and education system that they were exposed to better education, but also a lot of judgment because we weren't the traditional family in that area. And so I had to, he said, he mentioned the law of the lid by John Maxwell. What lid are you living under? Mm-hmm. And I still am working on overcoming things from those times in my life where I was judged as a single parent, where I was raised in a family that has traditional values and my mom stayed home, and that's wonderful. I was really blessed to always know where she was. Even though she had a degree, she didn't work. I had aspirations to do things differently, but I didn't necessarily have a lot of drive and support behind me from my family to push me to do that. I was kind of, women were thought of to take on traditional roles in the household. And I think that is wonderful. I love when women get to do that. I think it's really, really awesome if you get to be a parent to your child and be home and be able to stand in that traditional role. We live in a world that's a bit more expensive, and that's oftentimes hard. And I just made choices in my partners that didn't allow me to be home with my babies. I had to work to support my babies, and I didn't want them to feel like they ever had less. Mm-hmm. And so I fought hard to get to a place where I was selling enough to be able to provide for them so that they didn't feel the pains of poverty that we were in. So when he said the law of the lid and referenced that, I was like, I'm still living under a bit of a lid around my money mindset, and being able to have effective communication about that, and being able to understand what the really wealthy truly understand about how to build a bigger net worth and where to put that, and how to manage my money well. And he also referenced what God's able to do. Wherever you are unable, he is able to enable your unables.
Isn't that crazy?
I love that. Wherever you are unable, he is able to enable your unables. And I was like, ooh,
that's a God thing. It spoke to us too. We were like, the whole time we were like, preach. And people in the room were saying the same thing. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, because of where he came from in Compton, and because of the things that were he didn't have everything at his disposal. His thing in life was, okay, how did I get here and how do I get out, right? So education, conversation, observation were things that are important. He said to him, it was educating yourself up and out of your life. Like, these were the steps he needed to take, educate up and out. And so that's the thing. And one thing he also said was, you are one conversation away from something brilliant. So never discount having a conversation with someone because how they look, how they are, how they dress, how they smell, what you might have heard someone else think about them, right? You never know. So don't stop having that, because life has options. Life is a choice. And you definitely don't have to stay regular.
Yeah, I love that.
So he was
Tim Storey.
Oh my gosh, Tim Storey, Storey. I love him so much. Thank you for everything that you shared with us, Tim. And you're definitely on my daily stuff. All right, this next one is kind of cool. This next one kind of took us by surprise because you definitely cannot judge a book by its cover. Yes. Because he doesn't look like a traditional millionaire that might be out there in the world. And he didn't act like one. He was very, he was down to earth and normal, like somebody you'd meet at the basketball court or in the grocery store or something. Yeah. But this is Andrew Cordle, Cordle. Google him, search him, and start following him.
The Aspire Tour is his baby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he knew that there needed to be a platform for people to have personal growth around topics other people didn't want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Social media, money, growth, like there's more, like you got to sometimes get in and get direct. And entrepreneurs, they don't want the fluffy stuff. Mm-hmm. They just want to get in, get direct. Like,
they want to learn how to do it.
Yeah. What is this? How do we go? So he focused his time on money, which we don't talk about a lot of.
No, we don't. And there were a few things that he talked about: family, foundation, and faith. In terms of money, he really hit me with his story. He comes from a family of school teachers. Both his parents were school teachers. He said he referenced this a few times, that the handbook that went home with poor people, money doesn't grow on trees, is something.
Hey, my mom said that.
Yeah,
Did your mom say that?
Did your mom say that?
My mom said that too.
Your mom said that? My mom said that.
Your mom said that.
Money doesn't grow on trees. and how uncomfortable we are around the conversation of money.
Yeah.
He got deep into it. He got deep into it in a way that made me think differently about my money mindset. In that how we manage it and how I've been taught to manage it, and how I've watched my parents who have a poor money mindset but have leveled themselves up because my grandfather had leveled himself up. So, and watching them and how they managed their money in such a traditional way that we just put it with a broker, and then we trust that a broker does it. And that's fine. I'm not discounting that. I'm not saying that is bad. I'm saying that there's a whole different way to manage money. And Andrew is having those real conversations. Like, what is the 1% doing? How are they investing their money? How are they,
what are they doing?
Where are they moving their money to have?
And it's weird how we don't even really talk about
We don't. We don't.
Like you would, it's interesting because money doesn't define you, but yet it's like we talk about a car. Let's say I buy a Maserati and you drive a VW Bug from the 70s. Like that, we look at judgment and we're like, oh, she must have money because she has this car, and she doesn't have money because she doesn't have that car.
Well, we make an assumption that someone has a lot of money because they have a fancy car, and the reality is a lot of people that are driving around in fancy cars don't have a lot of money.
They're leases.
Yes.
And that's not always the right thing.
No, or they're living in a space that they just can't really afford all the things that they have. We oftentimes have an unhealthy relationship around
totally
money.
And I think it's interesting because going back to your parents a little bit and your grandparents, what they didn't talk about money, it just passed of what it is.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Right. And it's like, and no one's actually, even in my own family, my family was like, nobody talked about money. It was taboo. Whether you had money, didn't have money, wanted money, we just didn't speak of it. And so Andrew, what I appreciated about him was he's having the money conversation. Yeah. Money should be no different of me talking to my children or friends or family. Like he said this, and I'm going to paraphrase. He said, when rich people sit around, do you think they talk about all this random BS of this computer, this pillow, this lighting? No, they talk about, hey, how much money do you have? What are you doing with that money? How are you moving your money? They're talking about that.
It's the ability to make money, which he did. He started in real estate as a 22-year-old. So like just a little background of who he is. Andrew started in real estate as a 22-year-old, did invest or flip properties and then was making money, but he was buying more, right? So he was consuming. So he was in the consuming bucket. And even though he was using that as tax deferments to buy things for his business, but he'd end the end of the year with not really having more money. So he's like, I had the ability to make money, but I needed to increase my ability to talk about money. If I'm going to go from $1 million to 100 million, how do I create my wealth? How do I talk about my wealth in authentic conversation about money? So he started training and learning and getting in connection with.
He educated himself on it.
And he's still educating himself, and then he's passing that education forward. He said this, and he put a screen up that said, "Money is blank." So think about what that is for you. Money is what? Is it freedom? Is it a tool? Is it opportunity? Is it energy? Because it is all of those things.
Somebody said, I think Alex Rodriguez was there. And when he asked him that question, Alex Rodriguez said, money is a game.
And that's what Andrew Cordell says.
It's
money
different
is a game.
for everyone.
Yes, money is a game because he's moving his money.
Yes.
So how do you create it? How do you keep it? And how do you protect it? Those are the things I walked away from. And I walked away knowing I need more education on that. And he is a person I would trust with getting that information from. And so is Kevin O'Leary. They work together in that. And there's things that you can invest in through both of them to learn enough scale and train. And so that's something that I'm going to put our time and energy into getting better about.
And me too. And I think that knowing that, like, we're sharing with our kids, I know you talk about your money to your kids, and it is, I don't always have the right answer. So I never tell my daughter, here's what I think you should do with your money.
I don't tell her how to do it.
Because she needs to figure that out, because I don't have the answers. But I think what I appreciated about Andrew was he really broke down struggles that people have had with money in the past. Why are we not talking about it today? It's not a taboo. It's not a bad thing. It's making the world go round. We need money. Everyone needs it. But there's also two types of teams in the game of money. You are either a contributor of money or you are a creator of money. So the contributors are like me, right? All the world is out there producing the money. We're putting the money in the buckets, into our checking accounts. We're trying to not lose what's in the money in the bucket accounts. We're trying to get our jobs and then maintain that all along the way. How do we get the best deductions and then keep that money for life, right? That's I'm a contributor in the world. But then you have the creators, right? Those are the people that have wealthy money. They're the ones, and this was his analogy on this one was, he said, you have your bucket of money here, but then over to the side of you are the wealthy people with that you're basically all your money's going to. And so if you're asking yourself, well, how is my bucket of money going to all the wealthy people? It's because he called it really clearly. He said, when you put your money in your bucket for your mortgage or for your groceries or for your gas, right? That's in your bucket. You're trying to not lose it. That money is leaving because the wealthy people are owning the grocery stores. The wealthy people are owning the gas stations. So we're giving our money in our bucket for those things, but it's flooding out to those wealthy people. And so I think looking at money in a different way as like this commodity that's moving, knowing it's going to move and being okay with it moving, it led me to think I need to know for myself and my family, where is my money the right place to move to? And you called it. We've all gone through like Charles Schwab, Edward Jones for our money mindset. We're taught to put everything in a 401k. All of these things is what we are taught, but that doesn't mean that what we are taught is the right thing anymore.
Right. We might be wanting to evolve and grow and build businesses to make more money. And how do we keep what we make without having to give it all away? He was powerful, profound. I walked out of there feeling more comfortable talking about money than I've ever felt before.
I know. And
that's always been an uncomfortable conversation.
He said, when was the last time you guys sat around asking your friends how much money they make?
Yeah.
We talk about it.
We do talk about it.
We have a group of friends where we can say, hey, how much money do you make? How much money do you make?
My four closest people make over 6 figures.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
And it isn't intentional. And I don't vet people out because of that.
It's to learn. How do we grow the money I have? How do I get to that level? Or when I get there, how do I save it?
How do I save it? And we just learned more about what we need to learn more about, for sure. Angie and I learned more about what we need to learn more about.
I know. And the thing with him, the last thing on him that I took away was his statement of, if you want wealth, own your own money. Yeah. Don't keep giving your money away for other people to own for you, because they're not as invested in your money as you are.
Right.
You are the only one completely invested in your own money. Yeah. So if you don't know how or what to do with your money, pull a Tim Storey, educate up, educate out.
Yeah,
that was so good. Oh my gosh. Now I was
excited.
And I don't have a good relationship with money growing up. I have a very stressful relationship with money that I'm working on healing through, because it was something that was, I've attached my whole life around it. But now I'm excited to learn about all different things with money and tax breaks, and where I can manage my own money, my family's money.
Well, yeah, because it's crazy. Like, my parents are in their 80s, and there's a lot that has changed in my parents' life because they have some dementia each. But I mean, it's a regular thing for my dad to say, you can't afford that. And I'm like, and I chuckle because I'm like, you have no idea what I can afford in my life. I mean, at a time in my life, I couldn't afford that, but I certainly want to be able to afford more. Right. And so how do I get better at turning my more into even more, and not having, the other thing too that I really loved about it is that it isn't an idol to any of these people that were speaking. I could really feel that, because you can have a great relationship with money. But it doesn't mean it's the only driving force, but it allows them all a lot of freedom, and you can really feel that a lot of freedom to do a lot of philanthropy and to bless every single person that spoke. There wasn't a person that spoke that didn't speak about what their money allows them to do in the servitude of other people.
Well, and
every one of them.
That was big. So, and that's another thing. It's easy. And I've sat in the seat saying, well, it's easy for these rich people to tell me what I should do to be rich because they're already rich. And so I don't think I can make that happen. And I've sat there and said those things. But now I've done enough personal growth to go, man, if that person is telling me that I should be paying attention to tax codes, or I should be paying attention to the middleman of the money I'm making, then I'm going to pay attention to that. I'll do my own investigative research and make the decision that's right for my family, like you folks will and you will. Yeah. And we won't always be on the same page.
Yes.
But
we can have healthy conversation about it, though.
Right. And I never had anyone say, you're making money, even if it's $1, look into how you can have tax breaks. Stop giving your money to the people that don't serve your family and you and your future.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful. The whole day was powerful, but that was really powerful. So if you have any kind of negative feedback in your mind, negative pushback about money, I would say find him, find Andrew Cordell, and we can link these people when we post this, but find him, find the Aspire Tour, and start dialing into what he's sharing, because he's a wealth of knowledge, and he's a come up story. I mean, a lot of the people that were in this room are self-made. There were a few that had some leg ups into that self-made, but they're still self-made.
The majority of all of them are
businesses that they're exiting, and then they have the capital to invest in other things, to be retired but not retired because they're building additional things and doing bigger philanthropy work. It was so impressive. And this is going to lead us into the next person.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was so impressive on a humility level. I'll say that there wasn't a person in that room that spoke that I didn't feel a very large level of humility in their conversation and their storytelling.
You felt equal.
I felt
it didn't
equal.
matter our pocketbooks were different. I literally felt when these famous people are speaking, I felt very connected. And that's
connected and very equal, and such huge levels of humility.
Yeah. And I mean, that leads us right into the next one. We only have a couple more to chat about, guys, but Marcus Lemonis, that's a name you didn't know who it really was.
I just vaguely, and I've not followed him directly.
Oh girl, this guy's amazing.
I'll say he was the only. I just learned this last night. That's how much I knew. Okay, I could tell as soon as he started talking, he moved me.
Yeah.
And I felt this presence and this level of energy from him that was unlike anything I've ever felt before.
Well, wait, how you guys will know him. We're getting excited about this one.
Yes.
How you will know him is he is the gentleman that does the show, The Prophet.
And Angie knew.
And I've known about him, and he's in the real estate game and things like that. And then, and he was kind of like a hard ass kind of on there, and he did the show with another person, and then he did the show by himself. And so he's done like 11 seasons of The Prophet. So you can look that up, about fixing your business and are you making a profit or do you need to get rid of it? And so I knew him for that. And I saw some media about him that wasn't positive. And then I saw some media about him that was negative or that was positive. And so I wasn't sure what he was going to teach me because I'm not really leading the real estate game. And so I thought, okay, well, where is this going to go? But I think the way he started, he wasn't on the stage.
No, he stayed in the audience the whole time. He walked through the audience.
Yeah.
I think people were terrified that he would call on them. I didn't even have a thought in my mind that he would talk to me.
We were on the end.
We're on the end, but I didn't it didn't even cross my mind to be prepared to have a conversation with him because I was like, okay, what am I going to learn from him? Ooh, I love his story.
He was talking about his background.
He talked about where he came from. He was adopted from Lebanon as a child. He talked about his mother. He talked about some challenges that he's faced in his life. And as soon as he started telling his story, I could feel it and I welled up. I had tears in my eyes the entire time he spoke.
Well, because he did say during that time, he said, these are things I don't share with people.
Yeah.
But then I realized it's who I am and who has made me who I am. And we've talked about that on some of these podcasts of we want to share what we walked through to gift it to other people. And what we've walked through has not always been pleasant. And I think that's when it emotionally, I'm sitting next to you. I think that's when I emotionally felt it hitting you.
Yes, as he shared something that he went through, that pain, I literally felt the pains that I have walked through in my life. I won't share his pains. Those are his pains to share. My pains of becoming an alcoholic. He shared some pieces about some turning to things that weren't positive in his life because of some pains he'd had in his own life. And immediately I went to my journey with overcoming alcohol, excessive drinking and alcoholism. He put up a slide about reinventing his life. That really hit me. I think bigger than anything though, his pains really started to strike a chord with the pains that I had gone through in my own life. I felt them very deeply, going through the challenges of having a partnership with my second daughter's father who wouldn't fully commit, and back and forth, and, you know, some illicit activity in his life that created pains in my life. I could, like, it was crazy to me how fast all of those emotions came up when he was sharing his emotions around the things.
And he was walking by you right at the same time.
Yes, he was walking by me in the aisle, and I'm feeling all that. Like, I was like, I didn't even feel like I was in the room. I was somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And he grabbed my hand.
He said, "Are you okay?
Are you okay?" He said, "Are you okay?" Yeah.
This is when, talk about divine intervention happening right before your eyes. I could not tap my record button fast enough, not because he was coming to speak to you, but the energy between the connection of the two of you guys. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
it was unlike anything that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. And that is when the whole room was like, you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, it was very quiet. And he had me get up, and I got up with him, and he had me walk to the front of the stage, and he asked me if I was okay again. And he asked if I was ready to kick ass. And I said yes. And I karate chopped the air. And I do remember that. And we just had this dialogue about what I was feeling. And I shared that I feel like I am in that reinventive phase where I have a calling on my life to bless women who have walked through challenges, or just women that are not getting supported in what they're doing. Like Angie and I really, with this podcast, we want to give away the knowledge that we have. And I work in corporate sales, and I don't always have strong female leadership around me. Like I literally can go through all of the companies I've ever worked for in my 30 years of sales, and my leadership as female leadership has come from me paying for leadership outside of my company. Yeah. Like literally, like, I mean, and to me, as a 53-year-old woman with a strong corporate sales background, and I'm not being negative about companies in this. Women have all kinds of reasons why they're not in leadership, and it doesn't necessarily always mean it's company driven. Maybe they don't want it. Like, I'm not in a position right now that I want to be a regional manager. I love my territory. I want to stay where I'm at. So I'm just not ready to up level. I don't want that in my life.
I don't want that either.
But I want to gift other women with female sales leadership when they want it and when they need it. And that's what this is birthed from. And so when he talked about reinventing, you know, we're baby brand new with Sales Sheroes, but we are here to bless and gift women in such a huge way. And he gave me permission to do that. He gave me permission.
He gave the room. It gives me goosebumps still.
He gave me, from right now in my life, I am 100%. In my mind, not that I wasn't before, but we suffer from self-doubt as human beings. There's a lot of coaches and a lot of consultants out there. I've said from the beginning, this isn't about making money for me. This is about gifting other people, but I also have to have some revenue come in for business that we run, because that's just good business. Right. So what does that look like? He gave me all the permission in 5 minutes by inviting me to stand by him, seeing me, and asking me where I was and why I was, what was bringing the emotion out in me at that very moment. And I said, because God put a calling on my life to bless women in a bigger way. And when I sat down, I just was so in awe, and I'm still in awe. And I came home, and then I did some more due diligence, and I sent him a message yesterday. I don't know if it'll get to him, but I sent it through Instagram because we had a bit of communication, whether it's a social media manager or not. I thanked him. Right. So hopefully that gets to him in some capacity, because I am so grateful, because he uncovered something in me that is now no longer a lid. Right. As we'd heard about earlier in the day, it's no longer a lid for me, because I have a calling on my life to bless women in a way that is huge, and it is going to happen. Right. And so, and I know that now. And then I even did some sleuthing last night, and we've met with people. I have a brother that's a millionaire. Like, I have been around millionaires in my life. We've been around a few of them. Yeah, so we're exposed to that, right? But I can honestly say, I don't believe, unless I was in the grocery store and didn't know, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with someone that's a self-made billionaire. And Marcus Lemonis, I learned last night, via Google, is a self-made billionaire. And Good job, Marcus. Good job. None of that matters.
He was human.
He was so human. And he gave me permission that I needed, because for some reason I had an upper limit. I was hitting the lid. I had an upper limit around that, and I no longer do.
And I mean, we're getting real. As I am sat in silence watching my very best friend at the front of this convention of 3,000 people. I have people tapping my shoulder as I'm trying to record her shaking because I'm so proud of what she said, how she said it, how she represented her own self. I was just so proud of her, and everyone around me going, you should be proud of her. You should be proud of her. I loved that. And it was like knowing everything I see in her and I believe in her, which we do with our family and friends. It's until you believe it yourself and you hear it and believe it, it changes things. But honestly, watching God at work in that moment for me was just powerful. And then knowing that Marcus is the type of guy that truly sees people, because it wasn't just you in that moment, what he spoke to with other people.
Yeah, he pulled other people out of the audience, and
resonated.
everybody that he talked to really has a deep reason and rooted story about what they want to gift the world. I'm reading a book called Humilitas because our pastor had referenced it a few weeks ago, and I have been diving deeper into humility for myself personally, because we can never be humble enough, in my opinion, right? We can never be humble enough. And so I'm really deep in that. The book is with me. I flew with it. I read a little bit on the plane, and I will say that for me, with Marcus Lemonis, among many other people there, but him more than anyone else, his level of humility is so high. And also, he said that to me. Humility isn't going to be something that you struggle with.
Right.
I am challenged by that, and I want to remain, as things grow and get bigger and more impactful for me and for my family. That is what I want to transfer, is a level of humility to my grandchildren and my kids. Like, we need to be humble in this world. And he said that to me. So he recognized that. And that was like, he doesn't know what's in my suitcase.
He's a total stranger.
He doesn't know.
He knows nothing about you.
No.
There was no meet and greet to learn anything and have this all acted out.
And that's deeply important to me, at the top of my priorities.
That's why we started this.
Yes. Very humble. We both said, that we do want a business to transpire out of this as it works and when it works. But the bigger investment in all of this with Sales Heroes for Angie and I is to gift other women the leadership that they need, that they don't have, that we see missing in corporate sales and other sales.
And I mean, Marcus, we have both written you, and we are so thankful, if you get a chance to see this, for the brief moment we've had with you.
Life-changing.
It is legitimately life-changing. And thank you for sharing your story to that group. It was powerful.
Powerful.
Oh, guys. Okay. It was an emotional day. It was a lot to take in. I think we're going to touch on one more person, because I know this is a longer post than we normally do. We're just, as you can see, we get really pumped when we learn things. And learning it with your friends and business partners is even better. But the last person, he goes by, guys might know him. He goes by Gary V on social media, on LinkedIn and Instagram. He also is a philanthropist, and he is a no bullshit kind of guy on what he does. He's very authentic in what he says, how he feels. He thinks everyone should be, which we agree that everyone should be authentic.
He's the reason that I saw the Aspire tickets he shared. I follow him on every media channel I can. I just love him. I have loved him for a long time. I have a deep respect for people that are authentic. Yeah. And that I don't know that there's anybody on social media that I follow that's as clearly authentic as he is. And that was affirmed in getting to watch him at the end of the day.
I couldn't even take notes with him because I was so engaged in how he was speaking, what he was saying, because what he was saying, it wasn't like a lot of these people had anything mind-blowing we've never heard before. It's the conviction that they have within themselves and their beliefs to say, this is who I am, and I know that I'm a good person out there serving others with goodness. So how my path looks there, like, why do you care? Like, just come along with me. Let's go help the world, right?
Yeah.
He was so good. And he talked about so many important things.
Yeah. I think for me, the things I brought some notes forward.
Oh yeah. He talked about gut health.
Yeah. Which I love. Okay. So he talked about training your intuition, and we've said that for a long time. And Angie and I both really work on that because we've had mentors and coaches who have also said that that's an incredibly important part of running your life, running your relationships, right? Running your business. Like, training your intuition is super important, and everything that he's succeeded at and won with, it's because he has strong intuition and he acts on his intuition. So I want to talk about that. Training your intuition, protection mechanism for doing the work. If it's a protection mechanism for people that just keep learning, but they don't take action when intuitively they're told to take action.
Yeah. And we've done that sometimes too, where you go to an event that you want to learn something, and even at corporate events through work, you're like, oh, I'm excited to learn this topic. But then you get there and you're like, okay, I'm going to do all this stuff. It's going to be great. Then you go home and you don't do any of it. You put no action behind the time that you took out of your day to invest in yourself. And I've done that before. We both have done that before.
So not overusing education and overusing these seminars and these. I mean, we haven't been to a seminar for a long time because Angie and I got a little jaded about like being constant consumers.
Well, first of all, I don't think they should all cost $1 bazillion.
No.
Like, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, this was not a bazillion.
When we do our events, it will be cost effective for everyone. Because I just don't think anyone's knowledge is that should be that expensive.
Yeah, right. Your intellectual.
The cost of eggs and milk is the same for everyone in the country. So come on.
So he said, how many do you need before you actually jump? And that was valuable to me because I have been stuck in that perpetual motion of constantly educating and then getting stuck in that loophole, like feeling like it created a lot of imposter syndrome for me, like feeling like I needed another level of leadership and coaching before I'd actually move my business forward. And that's just stupid, honestly. Yeah. He talked about gut health and trusting your gut, but that if you can train your intuition, but if you're unhealthy and you have a weak microbiome, that affects your intuition. And so, and he really feels strongly that that's going to be the wave of science and healing the health. And we both feel strongly about that. We've done biome testing and we've tested our microbiome, which has also tested our oral health, which has also put us on
cellular health.
Yes. So, figure that out. If you haven't ever, like, we met a lady yesterday. I have a daughter who's had Crohn's since she was 13. So this is really important to me because as a family, we've tried to be better about our health because of her illness and her autoimmune. And doctors don't talk to you about microbiome. No. They don't talk to you about gut health.
I think it's because they're not all focused on it.
Yeah, they're taught to medicate you, and I mean that's truthful. They're taught to medicate you, and it's not a bad thing necessarily.
No, it was cool to see someone on social media talk about gut health. Someone who's not in the medical profession is saying, and if you don't get your core, which is the hub of your entire life and existence, if you don't get what's inside dialed in, nothing else is going to align cognitively, cellularly. So like focus on that. And so he said a lot of money and research now is going into gut health, which is why I think on a consumer perspective, we're seeing it all over the place of probiotic, prebiotic. But if you have a chance to get your microbiome, and to your point yesterday, the woman didn't know what that word was.
Oh yeah, we met a woman yesterday that said she just shared her journey and she's got ulcerative colitis. And I was like, have you ever researched microbiome? And I'm not someone who likes to give unsolicited advice, but I felt called to just say that to her at least. And she said, no, how do you spell that? She put it in her notes and she was going to do her own research. I'm by no means an expert. And so I'm not trying to pass information on how to manage your microbiome, but you should know that word and you should be paying attention to gut health. I feel strongly about that. We've felt strongly about that for a long time. And we're going to just get a little bit more rooted in that because he reminded us of that, right?
Well, and I'm wondering why I'm so inflamed. Everything in my refrigerator, I should not be eating. My type of body does not process those things well, which is why I'm so inflamed all the time.
Right.
And it's all in my fridge. I said I'm gonna have to empty out my whole fridge.
Yeah, because Angie did the microbiome.
I did the testing. So I love that Gary is speaking about stuff like that too.
Yeah, he shared about a new business that he's building called V Friends. And I don't know a ton about it, but it's something that's going to probably take 20 to 25 years to build, which I loved. And he said, this made me laugh, right? Like if you're building a business, it's not always super fast. There's no Ozempic in business.
Best line of the day. There is no Ozempic in business.
Yeah.
Like nothing is going to be a quick fix, a quick thing. And if it is, it's not going to last you.
Yeah. There's likely, I mean, you may be lucky, but there's a likelihood that it's going to it may fall apart. I laughed so hard when he said that. So, and he talked about using social media.
Yeah.
And because our audience is largely corporate, I want to say this. There's a big void in corporate in how we utilize social media. I mean, even it's a void for corporations and their marketing departments and how they utilize social media. It needs to be about storytelling. I could not emphasize this more. This is the biggest takeaway for me as a reminder, because I feel like Angie and I are both good at telling our story. I'm not ashamed of where I came from in my life because my goal is to impact people in a bigger way based on what I walked through to help you not have to walk through it for as long maybe as I did or as hard as I did. And he really talked about that, like social media and telling your story. They all told their story in the room. They all really tell their story on their social platforms, and it is free advertising. You don't have to pay for advertising on social media. You can choose to pay for advertising, but at this point, our social media platforms are still free. So why aren't you using it to tell your story?
I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to use social media, or there's a negative connotation. And we're closing this out, and we're going to leave you with this last thing. Gary Vee said, social media is what we in the world are putting into it. So if we're all coming to social media positively, authentically, serving others with whatever, whether it's a post or a meme, if we're coming, we are the ones that have the power to change social media. We as humans have the power to change the dynamic and the algorithms of content coming to us, because we are putting the information in. So let's change. Call to action to you all. Change what you're putting in social media.
Positivity.
Yes.
And if you don't like something, just scroll past it. So people asked him that, like, how are you not affected by some of these comments that get? He's like, they don't affect me. They don't affect me at all. Like,
disassociate.
That doesn't pay my bills. It doesn't allow me to impact people in a bigger way. He's like, I just ignore that.
He said he
I just ignore that shit.
He says he reads every single one of them, but he doesn't care about that.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't let it take stock or ownership in himself, because he is only focused on what he's putting out. Right? Is it helpful for the people? This is who I authentically am. So I might say the F word 10,000 times, right, in his mind, but he's like, am I showing up as me? Am I serving the community the way I want to serve? Like, are my businesses helping other people?
Am I being a good person?
Am I being a good human to society? So we have the chance to, before AI really takes over, we have the chance of the content we are putting into social media be positive and authentic, so we can have, make sure that generations to come are
and in reference to AI, I will say this. We are going to close. I will say this. If you're not dabbling with AI, it's a really important tool that is present and going to get more present. And so and Andrew and I did a podcast about it. So go back and listen to that. We shared some of the ways that you as a salesperson can actually use AI to lighten your load and be more effective in your business. And so they also encourage people to be playing with that. Like, it is scary. It is divided. It's divisive. We use it some, and we feel like it's a really valuable tool in our businesses, in corporate and with sales Giros, because data is everything right now. Data is the new oil. And so what better way to get analytics is to have a tool do it for you.
Thank you, guys. This was a long one. You can see we're really passionate about sharing when we learn things. We hope that resonated through to all of you guys, to all the people at Aspire. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of your hard work and efforts there. So next time, Sales Heroes, keep selling until we chat with you soon.